Hey, 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 you guys. This is Walt, for those of you that don't know. I'm going to make sure that we're showing up correctly in our group, so bear with me. I've never done landscaping on a live video. We are on monitor duty with our girls sleeping. So I'm going to turn that down. We only have Walt for a little bit, so he's going to hook up with us about some budget and chat about budget stuff. And this is not his cup of tea, so I'm very thankful that he's always willing to do this. Okay, let me just see that we look a-okay. Okay. Okay, awesome. We look good. Hi, everybody. I see some people are starting to get on. So as I was saying, we are going to dive right in to our budget and why we do a budget and how incredibly crazy and hard and difficult and just it's not always pretty. I was meeting with some girlfriends yesterday, and one of them reminded me. She said, oh yeah, we can't do our budget meetings out in public, like we cannot. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, yes, I remember our budget meetings early on where I would cry every single meeting, or Walt would get mad because he would say, why do we have no money? So it's just hard. So I don't want to paint the picture of a budget life being the easy life, because I don't ever think it's easy. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's not something you really want to think about. It's just, as long as you have checks, you have money, right?
I know.
It's not the case.
Yes. Okay, so I want to talk to you guys. We both want to just pour life into you guys about how we got started with a budget and why did we do a budget and why was that something that was important to us. And when I was thinking back today, I was thinking, what did that look like? So before my Jamberry business, I just dabbled with other businesses. Some months were really fruitful and some months I made $0. So Walt has always been like our steady Eddie stable provider. He's always been salaried, right? Until you became a stay-at-home dad. Yes, salaried. Some salaries came with bonus structures, but always salaried. So that was very helpful for our budget because we knew the amount was set and what was always coming in.
Minimum amount, yeah.
Yes, the minimum amount. So what I wanted to show you guys is this book. When I don't even think we were pregnant with Nash yet. So that would have been, like 7 years ago.
No, because some of the notes in here say 0 for babies, for children. So that was before we
had
kids.
Yeah, so before we had kids, I bought this book. It's called The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And in it has like worksheets, you guys, which I find so helpful, a book that you can just write in, okay? So I got this book, and secretly I was reading it. I mean, not secretly, like I wasn't holding any secrets from Walt, but I was just reading it, trying to figure out how we could be smarter with our money. So this was really our first budget, and it was very hard. And this was when we were at sort of the cusp of paying off debt. And so I want Walt to talk to you guys really quickly, because I remember when I came to the table and said, do we want to do this? You were like, absolutely. So do you want to talk about how you had already like paid off debt and then we got into debt again?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody has a story. I had a job where I made really good money and I was able to pay off credit cards and student loans, and I bought a car, paid for it all, and was able to do that. And then, we got sidetracked or foolish again and started putting things on credit and buying things that we probably didn't need or couldn't afford at the time, but we went ahead and did it anyway. And you kind of get into that trap. But we were living in Austin and just kind of got tired of that month to month, almost week to week existence. And when Morgan said, hey, do you want to do a budget, it wasn't like I was against it. I was like, well, yeah, anything that can keep us from this same, circle or this trap, this spinning wheel that you're running on, yeah, let's try it. So Morgan introduced me to this stuff, and then we got into other avenues of trying to figure out how to save money and budget. And that's kind of the next step is what we did after Morgan got us on our initial budget and got us used to living that way, which was very helpful. And it's not as hard as you would think. I mean, certain things come up that you kind of take for granted, the way you spend your money. And yeah, I buy my coffee every day, I buy my lunch every day, I do that. There's certain things that just kind of happen, but when you really think about those things and how much you're spending, not just on a weekly basis, but a monthly and a yearly basis, it's shocking. So Morgan's going to talk more about that, but that was the big takeaway for me on a lot of the stuff we did early on. And just doing our budget for this year, it wasn't the exact same things, it wasn't the day-to-day purchases, but the other small things that you don't have a line item for, that you're still spending a lot of money on, that you don't really account for. So that was just another way of realizing it and seeing it and kind of trying to turn that around to save more money this year.
Awesome. Thanks, babe. I feel like, you guys, I just want you to know, though, that we've had budget meetings where I have bawled. We've had budget meetings where Walt has been totally annoyed and angry. They are not, I just want, we don't have those anymore because we are so blessed with the provisional income that we have from my Jamberry business, or our Jamberry business, because Walt is such a big part of that, because I can only do what I do because he does what he does. But here's the thing, it's still the basic principle, right? It doesn't matter, when we look back at how much we had coming in, we actually just looked at our numbers, our hard numbers from Austin, and 2/5 of our income was going to our mortgage, which blows our mind. No wonder we were doggy paddling all the time. And so one of the things I think we both agree that if we could go back and do it again, we would have taken on less of a mortgage in Austin. Although it served such a wonderful windfall of profit when we sold that house, it caught
tough 6 years.
Yes, that's my best way of saying it. I mean, we had to scrape by so that I could stay home as a stay-at-home mom for those couple years.
Yeah, and I think
it was hard.
That was a lot of my initial thought was, I am working my butt off here. Why can't we go out to dinner once in a while or lunch once in a while? And Morgan's like, well, we just don't have the money. And I'm just like, how is this possible? But
it was
if you look at the numbers and what we're spending.
It was hard. So we just want to make sure that we're painting the picture of this was not easy, and paying off debt was not easy, and saying no to a million things that we wanted to say yes to. We love traveling. There's so many things we couldn't do. When we lived in San Francisco, I mean, that is no cheap city, and I remember all we did was walk around and just try to be as frugal as we could. And we had so many great adventures all over San Francisco, but I just can't imagine if we would have been debt-free living in San Francisco and Austin. And I don't live with regret, but I think there's a lot that we missed and we weren't able to do because we were plowing through debt, head down, super intense, paying off our debts. So I just wanted to make sure that I painted that picture. So we did this, and then, so we did Total Money Makeover. We both decided let's be on a budget. So this worked us through our first budget. This is how I learned how to budget. So you guys, that was one of your top questions. How do you budget? How do you budget? This is really what helped that steamroll a perfect daily budget. We weren't as intense as Dave said, but it definitely gave us a layout, right? And then the other thing I wanted to say is FPU is another program that Dave Ramsey did in the church we were going to in Austin.
Which is Financial Peace University, which is another program provided by Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. So our church basically knew our story of paying off our debt, and they asked if we would facilitate Financial Peace University at our church in Austin. And we were like, okay, sure. So we did it at our house every Thursday night for 13 weeks. 13 weeks. So I'm going to let Walt talk a little bit about that, because that was such an awesome marriage maker for us, and I just love to hear him talk about it.
I think it was probably one of the the best things we had done for not just our financial future, but also our marriage. It did wonderful things for our marriage. And it honestly brought us some of the best friends we've ever had in our lives, and will always have. And they continue to be, and they will always be some of our closest friends. It was great. I said it earlier. One of the things that I really was able to take from that was the daily spendings. Like I'd go get a cup of coffee or go get lunch, or just little minuscule stuff that it made you fill out a sheet and see exactly what you were spending every week or every month. And it was mind-blowing. And then when you put it into a percentage of what you're taking in, your take-home, it really was eye-opening. And it gave so much other information about taxes and insurance, and just made you think a different way and just smarter. You know, you're almost programmed to do a certain way, you know, that people tell you should do this, you should do that, and it doesn't make sense for a lot of people. So you do what makes sense for you, and you just crunch a few numbers, and that's the easiest thing in the world, and you just do what's right for you and your family.
Don't you think it was really cool, though, how we learned? One of the things we learned is that Walt was our natural spender and I was our natural saver. Like, that's what we gravitated more towards. So I feel security in, like, saving money and hoarding money and keeping money. And that's, like, I was, like, Gollum-ish. Like, oh, my precious. And then Walt was more like super generous. Make it rain. So in a way, we got to really realize that about each other. First of all, I don't even think we really realized that. And so we got to figure that out through this program. And then we also got to love each other in that way. Like Walt came over a little bit to the save side and said, I'm not going to drink coffee out every day. And if we go get coffee, I'm going to go with you and we'll go together on the weekends, because then that's quality time and that's one of your love languages. And I was like, okay, like, here's some spontaneous money, like take this $50 and go to Nordstrom Rack and like get some new whatever you want. And he was like, what? Awesome. So we just had to like migrate towards each other a little bit in this journey, because you will see that when you sit down to do a budget, like it is usually two completely opposing forces at work.
But you'll also be surprised how much you guys think alike in a lot of the ways that, like your goals, you will find that you probably want to get to the same end. You may just have a different way of getting there, and this might give you a way of combining the two thought processes and coming up with a good plan for your family, for you.
Totally. And for us, like FPU was incredible because we got to power through just like, I mean, all these different single people and couples paying through debt, and just the revelatory excitement that comes along with the freedom. And you know, we can dive more into like Dave Ramsey's principles like in another video, and I can just share a little bit, but definitely one of the biggest principles is pay the smallest debt first, because it allows you to get the momentum. So even if your smallest debt is at 5% and your biggest debt is at 15, still pay that little tiny 5% debt. Like get it off, like get it done.
Because what you're paying there can go to the next one, and they call it the snowball, and it works. It's amazing how it works.
Yes, it does.
And FPU will always have a special place in my heart because we became debt-free right before we started, I think. So we were able to share that with them and kind of use that to motivate other people in the group. I think over the 13 weeks, the group as a whole ended up paying off like $60,000 in debt.
It was amazing.
And we also found out that we were going to have our son Nash in the middle of that process, so that will always be special for me.
Totally.
So that we were able to share that with the group, and that was pretty neat.
That was really neat. Oh. And I think, like, in a way, there's this really crazy, fun, like, underground group of, like, Dave Ramsey dorks. I mean, we're, like, talking to friends, and somehow it comes out, and they're like, oh, yeah, we are debt-free except our mortgage, too. And we're like, what?
Yeah, it's usually, like, a phrase or a catchphrase that he uses all the time, and you're like, hey, you listen to Dave? And you're like, yeah.
Yeah. So it's been really fun. Like, our pastor and his wife are facilitating it at our church right now, and I just know how amazing and magical it is that they're just taking all of these other people through this process. Anyway, we can't say enough good things. So that's something you guys can listen to him online. Like, just, I think one of the things that really worked for me, just like anything else that I always tell you guys, is the continual like mention of it in your life every day. So if what your goal is this year is like debt freedom, saving money, like figure out how you can have like Dave Ramsey or somebody like that. Like, who is the other, there's another person. I get him in my inbox. Clark Howard. Okay, so Clark Howard, Dave Ramsey, just look up people who are all about financial freedom and debt payoff and all that, and then see how you can have like a bit of them every day. Maybe it's listening to their podcast online while you're showering. I just think when you have those gentle reminders all the time about being debt free and being on a budget and saving, not spending, it's just a wonderful like magnetic movement towards your bigger goal. So try to get that in your life. So let's talk about our budget this year. We're not going to talk numbers, but we are going to just say that it was really easy. Like, the meeting was like, okay, let's sit down and just at least look what our budget goals are. And I don't know we have never had a year where we were like, I think, what did we pound this out in like 30 or 45 minutes? Yeah. Like, the kids were watching a show and Kit was asleep. And so there were a few areas that we were both like, oh yeah. I mean, we were bleeding money for Amazon Prime.
That was kind of what I was saying earlier about how the daily spending and using it differently now. The big one was Amazon. It just seems like, I mean, last year we were not as good, especially towards the end of the year, which a lot of people, with the holidays and everything coming up, it happens. So the one thing that we both agreed was that we were going to tighten that belt, and we got right on Amazon and started paring down what we didn't need all the time and figuring out what we do need, that were essential, and that's what we're getting now. So. Well,
let's talk a little bit about that. Okay, so one of the things that we both really figured out is that we were spending so much on supplements. Like, we both really consider our health our wealth, but we were saying, it's our mission again this year to eat a lot cleaner. We probably need to clean out the pantry. I totally just stuffed my face with 2 Pepperidge Farm cookies after I ran. So, and I don't love gluten, so in a way, we know what we have to do. And so we are just fundamentally in the belief of, if you eat like your fruits and vegetables, there's so many micronutrients and vitamins and minerals in them. So we just said, okay, either we need to keep on the supplements and like keep that going, or again, we need to get back on the wagon. Like, the holidays are over and let's start eating healthy again. So we both fundamentally believe that we need to eat healthy again, right? And we know that that's not cheap, and that's definitely not the easy way out either. But so we decided we could curb some of the supplements that we were taking and that the kids were taking in lieu of eating healthier again. So the other thing we sort of talked about is how much a meal plan saves you money. Like, we know that. And so that's going to be another video, is what we decided to do for a meal plan, which I'm excited about. Are you?
Yes.
Okay. Because Walt does most of the cooking, and we just wanted to come up with a way to like make sure that we were both on the same page. So that we can do in another video. But I feel like one of the things that we did a while ago is we got rid of cable, which, you know what, you guys, of course we can afford cable, but at the end of the day, we don't need it. Like, we're in a life stage where I only watch like 1, maybe 2 TV shows at night before falling asleep. Maybe. I get up early, though, and I work. So we just figured, you know what? The kids don't need it. We don't need it. So we got rid of cable. That was a good budget, like, booster back in the day.
One thing that really cemented it for us as well as on vacation, we were sitting in the hotel, the kids were asleep in a nap, and we were trying to watch something on TV, and we just couldn't believe how much crap was on TV still. And we're like, yeah, we don't miss cable. So
yeah, in a hotel, and we couldn't even decide on anything because it was like choice overload for sure. So I feel like how we did our budget this year is we took the things that are like fixed, like our mortgage, taxes, savings, some of the cash bonuses, and we know that we're going to pay those every year, but we wanted to give them a percent, right? Like instead of saying, oh, let's throw $2,500 to $3,000 towards the mortgage every month, you know, because we try to double, triple pay our mortgage. Instead, we said, you know what, whatever our monthly income is, we're going to pay 15% towards the mortgage. So that was a big change this year, is giving it a percentage and not a set amount. So taxes, before we've done sort of like 20, 30, whatever, a third of it, like whatever we can do. Like this year we're like, nope, we're putting 25% right into savings for taxes. So I feel like that was like a fundamental difference that we sort of hammered out this year.
I think the first thing we did was we decided we used the minimum amount we think Morgan's going to make, and then worked from there. Anything over that, the percentage, we'll obviously get a percentage of that, but anything in addition to that, we're going to put into something that's going to work for us. We're not going to say, oh, hey, we have extra money, so we're going to go out and buy a new TV or something like that. It's going to be savings or something that we really need. So that's another thing that we agreed upon this year. So
totally. And we just keep reminding ourselves, like, our mortgage is our last debt, and every month it's like, it's just so much money every month. But then we look at our kitchen, you guys, we still have tile countertops in our kitchen, like original tile countertops from like 1950s. And we host tons of people over to our home. I mean, I am a little bit like, don't look at our kitchen countertops. But here's the thing. This is what we know. We know that if we do the countertops, like we just want to do the kitchen, right? Like we might put some butcher block on there just for the next couple years, because what we've decided is like pay off this mortgage. And at the rate we're moving, like we can do that in less than 2 years. So we just keep like being stealth focused of, and this is like the truth, that $2,000 to $3,000 a month that we're putting towards our mortgage now. Imagine when that's gone. Like imagine how quickly we can save for our dream kitchen, our dream pool, like a huge vacation, amazing retirement savings, awesome college savings. Like that's what we just keep saying. You know what? Let's just get it done and be done, and then really concentrate on the big, pivotal, like lifelong things. So that's just where we are. I know that a lot of people had a question about, like, what would you do if your investments earn more money? I am so amazed by the brainiacs that are in this, like, on this page. Like, there are some of the smartest people I know tuning in to this page, and I trust that if you're even asking that question, you know what's best for your family. And for us personally, we know that we will feel best with no mortgage. So although that's not like the financially savvy, investment smart, like your money can work better for you elsewhere, we have decided that we fundamentally as a family love the idea of being 100% completely debt free. Like no mortgage, we don't have any car payments. Mortgage is all we have right now. So that's, I feel like, is that a good way of explaining it? Because I feel like we get that question a lot, because people are like, you guys are smart people. Like, why are you putting your money towards your mortgage? You're, what are we, like 3.15 or something?
It's pretty low.
It's like,
1.25,
yeah, 3.25, 3.15. Like, our percentage is low. So, but that's just what we've chosen, because that's what we want for our life and our family. So do we have a plan for catastrophic illness? Yeah, I mean, we have insurance, totally. We use MediShare, which is awesome. So they have catastrophic illness worked into the plan. We definitely have an emergency fund. That is a goal to get that a little bit bigger this year. So that is one of the things that I suggest right off the bat. Like, I cannot believe when we first had our first $1,000 emergency fund, how wonderful that was to have.
Yeah, it's a big relief.
I mean, I feel like did our like washing machine go out? Or our dryer? Our dryer, something went out in our house, and we were like, oh, thank you that we have our emergency fund, because that's what we had to pay. And the car, remember, we had to take the car in for something, from rolling over the tumbleweeds in Arizona, didn't we? And it had the Xterra. Anyway, yeah, I feel like there were multiple things that we were saying, oh my gosh, if we didn't have this emergency fund, we would have gone in the hole. Like, it would have been really hard.
The thing with catastrophic illnesses, I mean, the way I see it, the insurance plans that are out there pretty much protect you from a catastrophic event. All the small stuff, you're pretty much paying out of pocket until you meet your deductible anyway. So, yeah, you keep yourself healthy, you eat right, you keep yourself from the doctor as much as possible. You know, you have whatever built in, you only pay so much and then the insurance takes over. That's what I feel insurance is going to do. It's going to protect you from basically losing everything if something happens to your health.
Yeah.
So,
so yes, we have that through MediShare.
So, and that's another big decision we made last year, was to get off the traditional insurance treadmill and go this route. And if anybody has questions about that, we can talk about that later.
And we can totally talk about that. So yeah, I think, I mean, if you feel like you're good, Walt has to go pick up Nash, so he's going to go get our big buddy. I'm going to answer a few of y'all's questions. Thank you. So I just want to make sure that I get your questions. Thank you, babe. You're awesome. So a lot of people talked about sinking funds, and I feel like Walt covered that, and they are crazy tricky. I mean, we have sinking funds all over the place. Like, we have it with Amazon, we have it with grocery shopping, but one of the things that we've always been on until the last few years was a super strict grocery budget. And I am just a crazy, like, I want us to eat super healthy. So I feel like one of the blessings of my Jamboree business has been us not really being on a grocery budget. I mean, we don't go bananas, but we do get to buy the food that we want to buy. So I feel like all along in this journey, that has been one of the most difficult things, was just being on a grocery budget. I feel like I put ours at like $600 until we could not have to be on a budget anymore. So that is the one area that I feel like we have total freedom. We can buy the food we want to buy when we want to buy it at any time. We do not have total freedom with eating out. So one of the things we have is every other week we have a babysitter, and we have budgeted from like 80 to 100 for the babysitter and eating out, babysitter and going to the movies. So whatever it looks like, our babysitter budget every other week is $80 to $100. So on the off weeks where we don't have a babysitter, let's say that we want to take the whole family out to dinner, you know, or we want to go do something fun with the family, then what we try to keep that eating, like our eating out budget, babysitter budget is like 60 to 80 to 100-ish a week. So we don't really want to go over that. And so that's what we try to keep it at every month, is just having that little bit of fun money and that little bit of flexibility to be able to take the kids out to eat, to go on a date, and just have some fun, right? And flexibility. But remember, you guys, like, we worked really hard to get debt free. We like lived like paupers when everybody else was like out traveling the world, and we were like sitting at home getting a red box and I don't even know, eating peanut butter and jelly. It was really hard. I mean, when Walt was telling you about it at the beginning, it was crazy. So I just want to make sure that we always paint the picture. Like, now our budget meetings are easy. It was like, I mean, seriously, we sat down and we were like, boom, like, it was so easy. And it was, I don't want to say it was fun, but it was like, okay, this is where we need to rein it in. This is what we need to do. Are we in line that we still want to pay the mortgage? Okay, yes. So now that we're hyper-focused with that, okay, let's do that. And I just love, in a way, you guys, like, it's like it clears the air in our marriage, like, no matter what. And Walt does all the finances. And in a way, I just feel like when whoever is in charge of the finances, it's always a weight, right? And so whenever they get to kind of talk about it, like, it's really good. So I could just see the weight lift off of him after we had that meeting and we were on the same page. So I just cannot suggest enough. Like, you don't have to go on a budget. That is up to you, and that is if that works for your family. But at least just sit down and talk about financial goals and plans and really figure out, like, where are you draining money? Where are there options to cut back? Where are there options to spend more? Like, because your partner may be the kind of partner who wants to go on dates and that's how they want to spend your fun money. And you might be like, no, I don't really want to go on dates. Like, I would rather just watch a movie at home with you, but then go out with my girlfriends. Like, your partner's not going to know that unless you communicate that. Does that make sense? So I think it's really important to communicate, like, what do you want to do with your money? Okay, so those were sinking funds. So that's how we handled that. I answered that question, and I just see a lot of people saying that their big goal for 2018 is just to pay off some debt and just be more financially free. And my biggest advice to that is just really think twice about how you're spending your money. I mean, even when I'm shopping for clothes, I like really look at the piece and I think, like, is this piece, can I wear it all year round in Florida? Can I wear it to a business event? Can I wear it for, like, in pictures? Is it a good color? Is it too busy? Like, can I wear it on a date, right? Can I wear it on a girls' night? So I just am trying to really buy, like, classic pieces that I can wear time and time again, and not as much crazy trendy pieces. I feel like I would rather buy accessories for trendy pieces. So look at what you're buying. And then the other advice I have with being on a budget, obviously the first thing I think is an emergency fund of $1,000. And how we got there so quickly is I took on extra work. So I watched friends' children, and that was a really quick way. We weren't pregnant yet, so I just watched their kids, and I saved every penny of it, every penny we put into it. And that's how we got that emergency fund. And then we also did garage sales. Like, seriously, we not only did garage sales, like, we sold stuff at our own garage sales, we went to garage sales because there are some deals to be had at garage sales, you guys. So we just decided we would shop thrift stores and garage sales. And really, it made us think twice about things that we need. Like, if we were on a mission for something, that was what we were shopping for. And we weren't going to be like shopping for that and be like, oh, but we need to buy that. We were both really committed to the idea of we are just shopping for this. This is what we're looking for. So I think that's my only tips, you guys. I hope this filled up your cup. I can take questions if anybody has any questions. I see there's a bunch of you guys online. So let me know if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, I will just peace on out of here. I mean, there is no perfect budget. And I think at the end of the day, just hearing those words, there's no perfect budget, but there is like awesome perfection in as a person or as a couple working together through a budget. I think it's just one of those things that's like a marriage maker. It's my best way of saying it. It's just really made our marriage better and stronger and just more like a team and less like two people navigating the world like alone. So I just really suggest it. And in an amazing world, people wouldn't live on a budget, but you know what I always tell Walt? Even when we're like millionaires, we're gonna live on a budget. And he's like, babe, I totally agree. And we are going to teach the kids how to live on a budget. I mean, they already have their crazy little banks. Like, Dave Ramsey has little kid banks, and it's 3 different quadrants of a bank. And it's give, save, and spend. And they are already, like, really understanding the concept of those 3 words. And I love that they get allowance for doing chores, and they have responsibilities. And we do, like, little, you know, again, like, team like family mottos that say in a big family everyone has to help. So I don't know, we just try. I mean, it's just one of those things where I feel like money can really stress out a marriage, and we have had some stressful years with money in our marriage, and I'm glad they're behind us. And I can honestly say they're behind us because we honored our marriage and said we're going to live on less and pay off this debt and get on a budget. Like, we can do this. And it was hard, and we had to say no to a lot of things. We saw some friends, like, I don't know, we saw some friends that were like, yeah, they're not so fun anymore because they can't really pay for anything. So anyway, okay. Oh my gosh, so my friend Kelly just asked a question. When one of the partners is mega budget conscious and another is a spender. So I feel like that's a really good question for the spender. Like Walt and I, through Financial Peace University, he just figured out that some of his spending habits were for reasons that were silly, like impressing people. And you can figure out like why does that partner, like, talk to that partner, why do you want to spend, like, why are you being so frivolous with our money? And I think there's a lot of emotions tied to spending. And I've even shared here that I used to be probably a borderline shopaholic when we were first married, and I just would buy so many clothes. Our entire guest bedroom was filled with my clothes. Like, it was ridiculous, and I was just filling a void, right? So I think partners need to always like come clean and just say, like, this is why I feel like I'm spending, and just really like that person needs to stay, like, have their own spending money. Like, how much would be enough for you to start? Like, could you stay in the realm of $250 a month if we could give that to you? Because if you look at that frivolous spender and really how much they're spending, you're like, holy crap, they're making us bleed like $500 a month. This is ridiculous. So one of the things that you can do too is spending goals. So, okay, if we get a windfall, if somebody takes on extra work, if like, you have like a family member that passes on money. So when those things happen, you have your spending goals. And we talked about some of those for us. So what, like right now we're just mortgage, like head down to the ground. Let's get the mortgage and let's beef up our emergency fund a little bit. That's our goal over the next 2 years. When that's done, we both agree, like, we want to redo the kitchen. We want to redo our downstairs floors. We want to go to Australia and New Zealand, all 5 of us. So we know some of our bigger, like, goals when that goal is done. So maybe just say to that person that's spending frivolously, like, what are your goals with spending? Because we're like, is there something you want? And like, can we please just rein it in? It's really hard though, because there's so much emotion tied to money. There are a lot of really good books about, like, I can't remember. My friend Erin Lanahan was talking about a really great book, and she was saying that it was amazing because it was all about renaming your spending. Like, you rename your mortgage every month, like, it's not mortgage, like, it's the beautiful house where memories are made every month, right? And so that way, when you're not like paying my mortgage, like, you're not like pissed off at life that you're paying that amount, like, you're paying to have a beautiful house where memories are made every month. So I'll find the name of the book for you guys, but it was really interesting about how you can shift your thinking and like, move your mindset past like paying your debts and more like giving them these really amazing names. So I thought that was really cool. Kelly, I don't know if that helped at all. I love you. I miss you. And actually, you guys, when I was talking about watching a friend's kids earlier, it was Kelly's kids, and they helped us bulk up that emergency fund. Okay, so I have another question here. Oh my gosh, I can't read all of Beck's question, but I hear you, Beck, loud and clear, how hard it is to just sit a partner down and say, like, we cannot spend like this anymore. Like, we have got to figure this out. And that's pretty much what I did to Walt. Like, I pretty much was like, babe, like, I mean, I've done this a couple times with Walt. Get ready for this. When we first met, I remember he was smoking cigarettes, and I was like, cool, I'm going to smoke cigarettes too because I really like this guy. What? No. So like a couple weeks later, I was like, I just want you to know I don't really smoke cigarettes, and I don't really want to. You can, but it's not really good for your health. So whatever you want though, you're a grown man. Like, I'm just not going to smoke cigarettes. And I remember him just being like, that's fine. I can quit. Like, if you don't want me to smoke, I don't have to smoke. And I was like, but don't be that person that hides it from me, because I don't like sneaky people either. And so a few times, like in our marriage, he has like gotten off the wagon a little bit, but not much. But it's so funny to me, right? This is what I wanted to make sure with the budget. I was like, listen, if we're going to commit to this, like we're committing to this. Don't be sneaking around and spending money behind me. Like if you have the need to like spend money, just tell me, because there's always room for you to spend money. Like we can always curb back. Like it's what I said to him is it's a fluid thing. I don't want you to feel like locked into this, like that I'm like this crazy mean budget lady that's like, you can't spend any money, Walt Cullen. So anyway, so that's why I feel like I was just saying to him, let's have it be fluid. And we did really good with fun money when we were like really broke, because that's where like we felt like all our life is being taken away from us for this stupid budget. So I think we both had $80. Like that would have been like what, like 8 or 9 years ago. And so we did like $80 a month. But you know, you guys, like $80 can go really far. For me, that was like a nice purse. For him, it was like lunches and like his little coffees at Starbucks. So that really helped us both like come into it and not be so like suffocated by the idea of a budget. Okay. And then let me see. Oh my gosh, Samantha Stockton asked about, so she said, they're considering buying a house, but the mortgage would be $300 more, so money would be super tight. Would you continue renting until money would be so tight, or just bite the bullet and figure out a way to pay the mortgage instead of rent? Like, honestly, I would continue renting, but that is just me. Like, I am really like, I take chances a lot, but when it comes to finances, like I am the most, I just don't take chances. Like I would just rather rent until it felt comfortable. The other thing you could do is obviously buy a house that wasn't as much, right? Like maybe find a house in not as nice a neighborhood and something that you guys could slowly fix up. And then once the market like turns, so yes, and I agree. Like, of course, everybody's always trying to make more money. Totally, Sam. I get you, girl. So, but I just feel like through all of my reading with Dave Ramsey, like it is so, he actually suggests that although people like to say that mortgage debt is good debt, like he's like, listen, the smartest people in the world are the people that pay for a house in cash. Like, that's what he fundamentally believes, that you should, like, buy a house in cash. And you guys better believe when we were moving back to Florida, that was a consideration for us. We were like, should we not buy my grandparents' house and actually just buy a house in cash so that we have zero debt moving to Florida? You know, because Walt stepped away from, like, a 6-figure job pretty much and became our stay-at-home parent, and we were both like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? So, long story short, like, in a way, there is a part of me that is such a huge believer in just the idea of saving while you rent in order to have, like, a 30%, like, put 30% down on a house and be in such a better financial situation. But that's just me, because I just tend to go that direction rather than taking a chance. So... yes, and Monique said that she's totally, her Jamboree money is going toward debt so that they can have, when they're ready for a mortgage, they're ready for it. And that's what I would say. If you're thinking about buying a house, my biggest suggestion is buy a house when you have no other debt. Like, don't buy a house when you have these massive car payments. Like, I don't know. It can be like really crazy and it can be really stressful. So, yes. Oh my gosh, and my friend Cullen, who is awesome, said, remember that, like, things break and things happen that are unexpected. Calling a landlord to shell out, like, $2,000 to fix stuff is amazing. I mean, are you guys kidding me? You guys know that this freaking house, like, we, of course, love this house. Like, this is my grandparents' house that we bought. Y'all, it has made us bleed money, like, since we moved in 3 years ago. I mean, I remember we were sitting in our bedroom and Walt goes, oh my God, the roof is leaking in our master bedroom. And I was like, you are lying right now. And he's like, look up there. And sure enough, it was like water coming through our roof. And I was like, and you guys, like, this is what I'm saying. we've like dipped into our emergency fund, like to get our roof. I think our roof was like $23,000, and to dip into our emergency fund and to fill it back up. Like this has been a dance that we've done for like 3 years with this old fixer upper house. But what I want you to hear is like, take those numbers and make them way smaller. Like you have $1,000, something breaks, you have to dip in for $250. You got to build it back up with $250. Oh, great. Now this broke for $500. Dip back down to $500. Now fill it back up with $500. Like it's this crazy weird dance that you do until you get ahead. But I like Walt was sitting here, like you guys saw that man, that freaking adorable man. Like he was like, this crap was stressful. It was not easy, but it was the right choice. And now that we have so much more freedom and flexibility, like we just look back on those years and we're like, yeah, they were hard, but we made it through them. I mean, we made it. And it all started with like figuring out like how many freaking Starbucks we drank a week. Y'all, I don't even know the last time I went to Starbucks. Like I legitimately cannot remember the last time I bought a coffee. I'm seriously trying to think of it because I made it my mission. Like I wanted to go buy one of the pumpkin coffees and I didn't. And I was like, dang it, I missed the pumpkin like thing. And then I was like, okay, now I need to go get a peppermint one. And here we are January and I still have not done that for myself. So that's one of the things that I realized, like even like 8 or 9 years ago when we were plowing through like personal debt, we've spent stuff on frivolous things, and I don't know, just like stepping away from that was really freeing, and making sure that we're telling our money what to do and not just wondering where our money went. Like that's been the biggest thing, telling our money what to do and not wondering where it went. So, okay, you guys, it's 3 o'clock, which means I think we've been going for an hour, which is crazy town. So I'm going to edit this down for YouTube, so the whole last half isn't on there, the questions. But I love your questions. I hope this cleared it up. Again, here's how we got on a budget. Total Money Makeover. This is not an ad. I get nothing from sharing this. It's just because this book changed our life. It was so cool to look back at our budget and just see like our first mortgage. Oh my gosh, like our first mortgage was twice as much of a mortgage as what we're in now. Like, can you imagine? So that right there crippled us, but it's okay. Like my husband took a job and they said he was going to get really big bonuses and it didn't happen. So in a way, that is really good advice too. If you have a mortgage relying on a bonus structure and salaried structure income, only buy the mortgage based on the salary and not what you think the bonus will be, because we learned the hard way. Okay. Love your faces. Have a great day. I've got work to do. It is January 4th, and in Jamland, that means full on, because we got stuff to do, people. All right. Bye. And feel free to tag friends or share this. That's like the best thing you guys can do for me.